Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Link to the Past, the optimal playthrough. So when we last left off, we'd actually gotten ourselves the Pendant of Power, and now, before we head toward the mountain range, we're going to make a stop at the Zora's Waterfall. Or the Waterfall of the Zora. So, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's entirely possible you can play through the game, get to the second dungeon, or they refer to it as level 2, the Swamp Palace. You can actually... It is entirely possible to get to that point and not be able to go through the dungeon because you can't swim. But, as you can see, we're going to make our way up there anyway. So you see these Now, one thing you can do, and this is a teaching moment, is that if you see these, I guess, mushrooms or whatever, you can actually bash into them by running into them. Stun this guy. Waterfall of Wishing is just around the corner. Okay. Sounds like a good deal. Alright. Okay, so there are multiple paths you can take here. You want to keep until you actually get the flippers. What you want to do is you'll want to actually stick to the land in the shallows here, because otherwise, if you venture into the deep, for whatever reason, Link will jump in, and well, you don't want that to happen. Why he shows him jumping in, I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the bottommost path here. Yes. Get to the bottommost path, come up here. And what do you want, little man? Something to ask me? I want the flippers. I don't just give them away. 500 a pair. And pay 500. One pair of flippers coming up. And basically, he basically lets you use whirlpools, which will actually port you to other parts of the map. So yes, now we have the power to swim. Now the GBA version allows Link to actually dive into the water for whatever it's worth, but it wouldn't be particularly useful in that version anyway. Come here to get the piece of heart you saw earlier. And yeah, that's pretty much all we're here for. And we'll never visit that place again. Oops. Oh, I never did show it off, but see, if you catch a bee, especially the golden bee, they will actually help attack enemies. Now, I believe the golden bee. Okay, I guess I lost the bee, but anyway, the golden bee actually does more damage than the regular bee, and you can actually have him help you in combat. Anyway, it's just as well that we got rid of the bee, because see this pond here, you can actually throw stuff into it, and they'll give you better things if you answer truthfully. Filled your bottle with the medicine of magic. Quite a bargain. Well, I mean, the medicine and magic is only like 60 rupees, so it's not really that much. Okay, so two other things you want to throw into this particular pond is your shield, in which she'll upgrade it. See, the GBA version, there, you can actually buy replacement shields. There is a special shop in the game that isn't there in the... There is a special shop in the game where you can actually buy shields, including the mirror shield. I think until you get the mirror shield, this particular red shield that Link now has would cost 500 rupees. So, I mean, I think I might actually... Actually, can I show that off right here? Huh. Okay, I guess I don't actually have... Well, anyway, there is a shield shop in the game, to the left of the pyramid, and you see that thing in the... See that golden-looking enemy there? That's a like. They're actually in the GBA version. They're also in the Four Swords dungeon, but, you won't actually see it because you can't get past that guy. And yes, these likes will steal your shield. So as soon as you buy a shield and you get accosted by a like, and if you don't kill them right away, yeah, they just fly up and away from you. So yeah, you can lose your shield. Also, if you were wondering where the Four Sword dungeon was, the Four Sword dungeon is basically right here, where you would get in roughly the same place where you would get a piece of heart on the pyramid. Yeah, basically one of the wizard statues that would normally be blocking the hole would, well, actually, no, there wouldn't be a hole in the SNES version. But yeah, there's another hole in the pyramid, so... In case you were ever wondering. Okay, but moreover, we need to throw our last item in here, which is the blue boomerang. And then she'll upgrade it to the magical boomerang. Apart from the boomerang being sparkly, it can actually travel all the way across the screen instead of a short distance. But that's not the only thing we can do here. Remember that Zora also allowed us to use teleporters, so we can actually use this one here to come over here. So we can actually make our way to this small island here. But that's not where we're going just yet. We actually want to swim underneath a certain bridge here. Come up here. Now, there is a bit of a... In the Dark World, there is a bit of a hint that you can actually come here and swim under this bridge by traveling between the Dark and Light worlds here, but speak to this gentleman, and he basically recognizes that we're in a lot of trouble, and he basically gives us our third bottle. And that's pretty much all he does. So that is that. Alright. So then we can come here. Now, if you ever wanted to increase your maximum bomb or arrow capacity, you can throw your excess amount of rupees in here. The very first time you come through here, you will have to throw in 20 at a time, but once you actually know that there's a fairy in here, you can throw 50 at a time to speed up this process. There is a glitch you can do to actually, like, turbocharge this, right? I've only ever managed to do it once, but yeah, it can actually make it all that much more. I don't know. Is this it? Nope. It's like very hyper specific. Okay, so since we ran out of arrows earlier, I think it's fitting that we just increase our arrows for now. But yes, you will need hundreds of rupees to get this, to accomplish this task. Alright. Okay, one of the more commonly missed heart pieces is this one here, which we'll come back to at some other point in time. Actually, can I buy the bombs here? Huh, and I happen to have 50 rupees right now. Yeah? Yeah, I guess I can use our rupees to buy the bombs here. Now don't worry, I'm going to show you a rupee cache, or stash. Now let's go with that. In the light world, what you want to do, if you want a free 300 rupees, well, there's actually two spots in the light world. The first is actually down here. Now, there was another one of these rocks closer to Link's house, but that was just a fairy. So if you come here first before going to Death Mountain, you'll have your let's see, no, it's not Molduga. It's I'm blanking on the name. Well, you know, it's this guy. Anyway, talk to this guy, and he'll give you 300 rupees. Oh, I guess I didn't really need to buy bombs after all. But yeah, he can give you some extra rupees if you're hurting for some. So now that only works once, by the way, so enjoy that while you can. Okay, let's switch to the air. Let's switch to the boomerang so I don't. There's actually, can I power bash into it? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and capture this fairy in a bottle, because if you have any fairies in your bottle, if you bite the dust, a fairy will automatically revive you upon being destroyed. Now, you probably wondered what those numbers by those save files were. Those are the number of times I played this game. Now the GBA version will actually fix this to only reflect the number of game overs you've had, you know, not including times you were revived by a fairy. The Super NES version, on the other hand, is a little bit less forgiving. It counts the number of, quote, games played. That includes any time you have, you know, saved and quit, or had been revived by a fairy, or had gotten a game over. So if you want a perfect score, it's probably... So yes, if you want a perfect score, you gotta make sure you don't fall once, and, well, you don't bite the dust, and you play it all in one setting. Of course, we're playing on an emulator, so I can just basically create a save... I can basically just create a suspend point at any point, so... Not really that big of a deal, honestly. I mean, you can even do this in the GBA. You can even do this in the GBA game on the Switch, so not really that big of a deal. I guess I can play this game once more, why not? This one? This one? No. That's even worse. There we go. I still can't get over the fact that it's just an illusion of choice, you know? I mean, most people have this philosophy that that most of the time, statistically, it's like either one or the other, you know? So while we're in town, there's this person here that always runs away from you. You can actually catch up with this person if you have the Pegasus boots. Anyway, this guy doesn't have anything interesting to tell you, but basically you can use your speed to bash into things like trees and such. So, not all that big of a deal. This kid down here with the blue hair is the one who tells you where to find the Elder. Yep, already met him. Rumors say you kidnapped Zelda, but I still trust you. Fun fact about this lady, and you'll only be able to do it before you get the Master Sword. You can actually use magic powder, and she's gone. As far as I know, that's the only time you'll ever see her. Oh, I guess she's back. Well, anyway, that's that. There is a hole in this wall that only contains arrows, not gonna bother. Another thing you can do with this magic powder, and this is a bit of an Easter egg, you go into this woman's house here. You use it on this particular Kuko, or chicken, whatever. You know, Zelda's universe's version of a chicken. Anyway, she says that you've always been teasing the chickens, so I don't know. So if I had the golden bee, I would have been able to sell it to this guy for 100 rupees. You know, basically my money back for that bottle. You know, no big deal. You can get the hammer a bit later, just a bit later from now, and actually get into these bushes here. But there's really nothing in there. I think it's only like one bomb or something. So a little bit further up is an extra house up here where a couple of lumberjacks live. In the GBA version, there are 3 lumberjacks: A Bumpkin, B Bumpkin, and Q Bumpkin. But in Q Bumpkin, basically, there's like a special move or a variant of this attack, but you have to play 4 swords a few times in the GBA version. But again, I don't have friends, and they certainly didn't give it the 25th anniversary treatment where you can play the game by yourself, so... Anyway, meet the old man here. You find your way into the mountain, and he asks you to take him to his mountain home or whatever, because he lost his lamp, you see. It is here he basically asks you if I'm looking for the golden power, quote, end quote. Whatever that is. And no, I'm not looking for the golden power. I don't know what he means. So anyway, he gives you an important item. If you wander into a magic transporter, gaze into this mirror. So yeah, if you find yourself in the dark world, you can just pop back into the light world by using this mirror. Until you get the moon pearl, it's the only thing you can do once you... This guy is also a travel point, or whatever. If for whatever reason you lose all your lives, or you want to start back over from where you left off, you can actually start your game from here. You can either do it from your house, the sanctuary, or this guy's place. And of course, like Zelda, he'll comfort your weariness or whatever, or restore your health to full. Okay. Now, since we're in the prime position to do it right now, there's actually 2 heart pieces. There's one here, and then there's a heart piece down here. You want to drop from here. Walk up these steps. And you can get a piece of heart. You must somehow make your way to the top of Spectacle Rock. From there you can reach the Mountain of Death here. Basically, if you had the hook shot, which you don't at this point in the game, you can actually just swing across and have an easier time getting back. Moldorm, that's the guy's name. I don't know, for some reason I kept flashing to Molduga. Okay, so... Anyway, there's 8 You see this special tile here? There's 8 of them in this, in the overworld. Their job is to basically take you to the dark world. And so, you know, the dark world's supposed to be a twisted version of the world we know. It's actually supposed to be the Golden Land where the Triforce sits, which is this building here. Also, you get a unique music score here that you can only hear if you don't have the Moon Pearl. And basically the music loops. Huh. You can talk to these 2 guys, but they basically just say that, you know, if you had the moon pearl, that you wouldn't lose your shape. So they're not worth talking to at all. Another thing that's absolutely missable is this thing right here. Now, if you have the book, you can actually investigate what this is. Hold up the Master Sword and you get the magic of Ether. But you don't have the Master Sword, so you're not going to get Ether. I'm going to tell you right now, Ether, of the 3 medallions that are in this game, Ether and Quake are absolutely necessary to actually get into a couple of dungeons. So... anyway, welcome to the Tower of Hera. So what you want to do is you want to grab this key. You can... basically, if you're in a dungeon and you have the magic mirror, you can just use the magic mirror to return to the entrance to the dungeon. So... okay, we're about to bite the dust here, so... go ahead and just use a full restore, why not? You can open that up, get the map. Okay, so you remember earlier how I said that eventually you'll have to deal with the tile room? This is one of those times. Okay, so you'll know that the game is done throwing tiles at you because in the empty spaces that now exist is basically the skull and crossbones that appear whenever you slay an enemy, like this one right here. You see how it briefly turned into a skull and crossbones there? That's how you know you've defeated the enemy. So that giant green bottle I picked up is actually a full magic restoration, but of course we already had full magic, so... and once again, you got your 4 torches and a big key. Since we have to go into the main room anyway, we'll just use the magic mirror here. Okay, well, I know I can just rewind okay, I guess I'm gonna have to rewind anyway, because I don't want to have to climb back up. Okay, never mind. I mean, I can take a death, no problem, but having to climb back up, if I don't absolutely have to, Well, that just kind of... Well, no, sir. Speaking of sir, and by the time this episode comes out, it'll probably be well past the 4th of July, I'm sure. You see, at my work, we have this system in place where we can put in for time off, typically days in advance, right? Upwards of up to 6 months in advance, you can actually, request or reserve a day off, right? Unfortunately, me being an overnighter, the app that our work has us install on our phones, it's not exactly user-friendly to a degree for overnighters. See, basically, if I want a particular night or shift off, our system is not smart enough to know that I'm an overnighter. So if I wanted, say, for example, tomorrow night off, I would literally have to put in 2 requests for the same singular shift. I would have to say tomorrow from 2200 hours to 2400 hours, and then another request immediately after that, spanning from 0 hours to 700 hours. And I have to specify how many hours of my paid time off or PTO that I want to use. Same thing goes with my emergency time off balances. If I had an emergency come up, I would have to basically do that in the same way, in addition to actually reporting an absence. So yes, without revealing where I work, that's basically how I gotta do it. Good lord, how many... Oh, Alright, so... Looks to me like... Oof. Okay, well this is gonna be... Well, this is gonna... Oh, wait, shoot. No, go back. No, go back. My bad. I forgot the moon pearl. Yeah, so the very first you'll want to drop down this hole, by the way. The very first instance of for getting a vital item is actually the moon pearl. So you can actually beat Moldorm there and not even get this, forcing you to basically come back and get it. Although there are people who have glitched this game or found a way that, you don't really absolutely need the moon pearl. As long as you find your way inside a dungeon like this one, even if you are a rabbit, you can just get hit and you're good to go, really. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but anyway, getting back to that other story. So yeah, now the reason I bring up the way we put in for time off is that, there's nothing stopping me from using the app to request time off, but for whatever reason, the system, in the process of which we request time off on the computer is different than that of the app that we use to clock in and out of. Basically, the app only lets me basically choose, the day that my shift, the day or the night the shift begins, and how many hours of my PTO I want to use. It doesn't, it doesn't basically ask me for specifics, like, what time does my shift start and what time does it end, etc., etc., And I have an idea that even if they did update the app to do that, I probably would still have to effectively put in 2 requests, as nebulous as that sounds. So... Now, the thing is, when I put in for time off, I do sometimes use the app, and, sometimes I don't realize I've used the app instead of the instead of requesting the time off on a PC until, like, the closer we get to the time off. And so, basically, if I use the app to put in for time off, sometimes, yes, I will get the days off, but the system will then think I'm unavailable for the whole 24-hour period. And because my shifts cover, like, 2 different days, if I say I'm unavailable for a full 24-hour period on one day, then they can't very well schedule me to work on another day. So what ends up happening is that if I do get time off, I'll end up being granted more days than I've requested. Now, there is a good news and bad news about that. The good news is, because I'm not technically on the schedule, if I don't show up, then I wouldn't be getting into any trouble. The bad news is that because I wouldn't be able to work that day, because I'm not on the schedule, I wouldn't get paid either. I mean, kind of makes sense, right? I mean, that's the trade-off. So anyway, last month, like a week before the June 24th, 2024, my direct supervisor, for the first, I think it's the first time he's actually ever done it to my recollection, but he actually took notice of my schedule and actually put me on the schedule for, you know, Friday the 14th of June. I think it was a Friday or the 14th. Anyway, it was like the day before. It was like a day or two before Father's Day. But see, here's the thing. In order for him to put me on the schedule, he couldn't schedule me for a full 24 hours, right? Because again, with the way I had set up time off, you know, he basically wanted me to work that Friday, and I had to do my due diligence and ask him, you know, because to show up to work for only 2 hours is pretty nebulous. Now, the thing about my direct supervisor, and, you know, I'm sorry to say this, but he's kind of an asshole. I mean, that is to say, he has this attitude towards people that makes him unapproachable. I mean, not that I'm really one to talk, because, you know, I myself am not a people person either, you know, so I can't really point fingers here. But, yeah, he's generally unapproachable. I mean, one time I think it was last September 2023, I actually had the protected time off to cover a shift that I couldn't show up for, and I actually used said protected time off, but, you know, my boss, my direct supervisor, insisted that, you know, I didn't do it right, and I tried to get our personnel officer to fix this, because I knew you know, I knew it was incorrect, but I don't know, she just straight up stonewalled and just said, nope, talk to him. You know, like, wouldn't even acknowledge, right? Like, I mean, look, I'm sorry that she's no longer salary, you know, but she's the personnel officer, you know. I mean, she should be able to actually help you out. I mean, just because she works during the daylight hours doesn't mean she can't help an overnighter. I mean, I'll be damned if she's going to have this attitude where, like, you know, oh, you got to be clocked in so I can help you. Well, that's the problem, lady. You work during the daylight, I work during the night, you know. Unless, you know, so basically, unless I'm on a leave of absence, or I happen to be clocked in and still there when she arrives, I guess she can't really help me then. So, anyway, this doesn't really say much. Heroes Triumph, Cataclysm's Eve, 3 Symbols of Virtue, Keeping Knight's Line True, whatever. Anyway, long and the short of it is that basically how the schedule is written up this week, I should have Friday, July 5th off because I'm not on the schedule. Now, I will say this, if somehow, for some reason, he does put me on the schedule this Friday, which he could very well do if, you know, he deems it necessary, I think what I'd probably end up doing is using my PTO, or my emergency time off for it, because, oops, I bumped the, because, you know, I mean, he's already, I would do it for two reasons. One, he's already proven that, you know, he's already proven now that he can, in advance, put me on the schedule, you know, if he absolutely needs to. And two, you know, even if he were to come back and say, oh, well, I told you to be here. Well, no, it's... See, I don't care if he tells me to be there. If he doesn't put me on the schedule, then he can't, you know, if I don't show up on a day that I'm not scheduled for and he tries to, you know, punish me for it, you know, he's already proven now that he can put me on the schedule if he needs me to work a specific day. You know, if he tries to put... So if he doesn't put me on the schedule and I don't show up on a day that I don't work or that I'm not scheduled for, you know, that's not my problem. You know, I mean, that would be his problem now. And plus, you know, like, not that I would have to, or should, but like, you know, if he tries to put me on the schedule, say, you know, the morning before, you know, the shift is supposed to begin, I mean, that would be last minute right there, you know? If he wants me to show up, you know, I would expect him to actually... If he wants me to show up and he cannot put me on the schedule for whatever reason, he would have to approach me and actually tell me, right? I'll be damned if we get into an argument of, oh, well, I told you to be here. No, you didn't tell me to be here. If you told me to be here, I would have been here. I would have been there. Because there's at least one or two times where he's done that and I actually showed up, you know? I mean, I don't know what kind of person they think I am. I mean, I don't mean to sound ranty here, but, you know, I've worked for 9 years, you know? Like, I know tenure doesn't mean squat these days, but how long do you have to work for a company to get some respect? I mean, a little bit of an aside here, you know, I mean, my own father, you know, he's going to be retiring soon, like sometime in August, I believe. And, you know, I'm sorry to say my father's just not getting along with, there was this one coworker that I thought he confided in, you know, above everyone else, but I don't know, of late, you know, he doesn't seem to, he just has a low opinion of her now, so I don't know if it's just my father being my father, because, you know, he and I are very similar, you know. My father doesn't really have very many friends either, if any at all, actually. You know, sometimes I think I'm his only friend or something. Hence the reason I'm still here. But yeah, I mean, getting back to the game, sorry about that rant, but getting back to the game, yeah, you can save and quit, you know, rush over here as fast as you can to the sanctuary. It's not going to change anything. Priest will just say that, you know, he's failed Zelda, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I did it right. Nope. Okay, so if you're wondering what I was trying to do there, is that there is a glitch or something you can do that if you that if a room fails to load, the game puts you in a special room called the Chris Houlihan room, which basically gives you, I think, 275 rupees. And basically, Chris Houlihan was a guy who, or at the time a kid, who actually played a game called Final Fantasy and found the rare monster, the War Mech, or whatever. And by taking a picture of it, Nintendo allowed him to appear in his name to be immortalized in an upcoming game. Unfortunately, that name, unfortunately, that immortalization was, well, you know, for a game that only appears in an error room, so... Okay, now, normally what I usually do in a situation like this is that I usually, at this point in the game, I would usually have the Ether Medallion, having gone back and gotten it. But, like I said, I mean, I'm trying to play as optimally as possible, so, you know, you don't absolutely need the Ether Medallion, but it would help, it would probably help you to, get it, to freeze all the enemies, because some of these enemies actually do hit pretty hard, even with all the health you now have. So, yeah, if you have the Master Sword, if you have full health, you shoot sword rays. Yes, I call them rays, not beams. You know, deal with it. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think my boss at the moment will probably put me on the schedule, because one, I'm already scheduled to work, you know, 4th of July, so, you know, I guess it would be up to him whether or not he wants me to work or not. I mean, I don't want to work, honestly, but, you know. But besides that, I mean, at the moment, we seem to have, like, 3 new... I think they're brand new. They're either brand new or they transferred from another store. I don't know. I don't know what their deal is. All I know is that there's 3 new faces that I'm not really familiar with. So, nothing else. I mean... He'll probably lean more heavily on them, I'm sure. Because, you know, like with me, I mean, sometimes the best way to learn is to is just to basically throw them at the wolves, right? I mean, that's how I learned, for better or worse. Yeah, like many jobs, I mean, they didn't train me for excellence. You know. I mean, I'm sure legally I'm sure for legal reasons they'll probably plop them in front of a computer for the computer-based learning, but after a while, I mean, they might just basically, see, technically, I'm supposed to be doing refresher courses on the computer, but the thing is, in order to take these refresher courses, I have to be logged in and clocked in, so the company legally has to try to find time for me to actually sit down and do it on company time. But the thing is, you know, the reason they do it, the reason my direct supervisor does it for us is because, you know, if we're sitting in the back, you know, doing our CBLs, computer-based learning modules, then who's out there doing our job? Nobody, you know? I mean, I'm sorry, but, you know, like many companies, they don't hire enough people for... I mean, then again, I mean, it is overnight, so they probably don't hire too many people for overnight. I mean, they did try to one time they did try to remove the overnight shift, actually. Fun story about that. Literally October 2019, they did away with the overnight shift at my place of work. But then, you know, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I probably would never have gotten the overnight shift back and started making as much as I do now. But even then, you know, it's basically a hollow victory because, you know, again, I've been there 9 years, and I know that no amount of hard work I've ever put into that place really matters because, you know, one, I still don't make enough to live on my own, unfortunately. I mean, one person can't work one job, support oneself, you know. But also, you know, none of the raises I've ever gotten were because I deserved it or because of how long I've been there, you know. One word, ladies and gentlemen, inflation. That's what it boils down to. Yeah, fun fact about the fairies, you can't just automatically activate the fairy and expect them to heal you. They'll try to escape. The last moment of Princess Zelda. Oops. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of this wizard right here because I want to compare it to... I want to compare it to something we're about to see real quick. Oh crap, I didn't realize we're coming up on... I didn't realize we're a little over time, aren't we? Okay, so Sahasrara tells you that you can't inflict damage to the wizard directly, so you can't, like, walk up to him and slash him with your sword. You have to return those giant spheres back to him. Occasionally, unfortunately, he'll fire these blue fireball things. If he comes up here, he's probably going... If he comes up into the top center, he's probably going to fire lightning. So you might want to duck to the sides. Okay, I would say one more about does it. You can actually use the bug catching net too. Yeah, for whatever reason, this works on him. I mean, you can't deal damage to him directly with it, but you can't get hurt either, so... Okay, so when you fight... So when you beat Aghanim, he teleports you to the top of the pyramid, so... Okay, so that ends tonight's episode. So, anyway, I apologize for that running a little bit long, but from this point going forward, we can actually do the fun. We can actually play this game the fun way, quote unquote. So, anyway, thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.